Hey guys, and welcome back to Start Talking. This is another Talking Points episode, and as you can see from the title, today we're going to be talking about anxiety. But not just any anxiety, we're going to be talking about generalized anxiety. Because there are a lot of different types of anxiety, and I want to dedicate a video to each of them. Because I feel like they deserve it. So today we're going to be talking about generalized anxiety. I don't know if it's the most common form of anxiety, but it's definitely one of the top three. So, I guess we should start with what is generalized anxiety. Generalized anxiety is shortened to G.A.D, which stands for okay. Generalized anxiety is shortened to GAD, which stands for Generalized Anxiety Disorder. Anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. Anxiety is something that everybody experiences. You will always, in your life, be anxious about something. But an anxiety disorder is something completely different. Generalized anxiety disorder is feeling this state of overwhelming worry and nervousness and stress and panic constantly without reason or with a silly reason. It's a vicious thing to live with, and unlike the other types of anxiety, it doesn't have one specific source. It draws its anxious nature from anything and everything. It's very versatile. The mental symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder is, as I said, a constant state of stress, worry, and nervousness about either just getting through the day or about something that doesn't even require anxiety put to it. Like, you might be walking down the street and thinking, what if a car comes by and kills me? And then you might worry about what would happen if you died for the rest of the day. Now, worrying about death seems like a pretty normal human reaction because it's death, it's permanent, it's a worrying thing. But with generalized anxiety, or any type of anxiety in fact, it can become the pinpoint of your day and can be the only thing that you think about throughout the day. Whereas normal people would just have the thought, stress about it, and then shrug it off because they realise it's not happening right now. There's no need for them to worry about it. But anxiety disorders don't care if there's a reason. They mess with your mind. As well as mental symptoms, there are also physical symptoms to anxiety. These include fatigue, headaches, muscle tension, irritability, hot flashes, or trembling/shaking. Now, obviously, everybody's different, and not everybody will experience all or any of these symptoms, but these are the common ones. And if you have generalized anxiety disorder, you might experience them. As well as these physical symptoms, generalized anxiety disorder can also cause insomnia and coexist with depression. The reason for this is simple. When you have anxiety, you worry. When you worry, you feel down because you're worrying. And when you worry excessively, you feel down excessively. And it becomes an association that your brain makes, and so you get depression. As I said, everybody is different, so everyone will have different behaviours when experiencing anxiety. For me, I pick the skin around my thumbs and fingers, mainly my thumbs. But for others, it might be nail biting, leg twitching, hand trembling. It could be anything, even something like humming. I don't know. People just have their little tics, and it's, I think, the body's way of letting you know there's something wrong. It's the body's way of processing, because anxiety is almost overwhelming, even in its lowest forms. And when it gets to a point where you can't contain it anymore, you get anxiety and panic attacks. But If you come across somebody who is experiencing an anxiety or panic attack, there are some things you can do. Obviously, the best thing for this person to do is to contact their therapist if they can, and if they're not in therapy, then go into therapy. Obviously, some people who don't have anxiety can have anxiety and panic attacks, but I don't know, I would say 9 times out of 10 they should get it at least looked at. The first thing you should do, obviously, is approach them and ask the question, are you okay? Obviously, if you find that they're having an anxiety attack, they are not okay. But it always helps to just say, are you okay? As a way of recognizing that you are there to help. But the first thing that you can do to actually properly help is to be patient with them, because their body is processing copious amounts of anxiety and releasing it in the form of a panic or anxiety attack. So they've already got enough shit on their plate, basically. All you have to do is be patient and listen to them. Which brings me to number 2, which is ask them what they need. Now, some people during anxiety attacks don't talk. So if you can see that they are moving their mouth but no sound is coming out, it might mean that they physically feel like they can't talk. Or they might just stay silent and not attempt to talk, which is perfectly fine. But if you ask them, is there anything I can do, or is there anything you need me to do, and they tell you something, do it. Because it's that simple. The third thing to do is to support them, no matter what. So, if, say, you ask them, is there anything you need me to do? And they say, oh, I'd like you to jump up and down on the spot or something. That sounds stupid, but it might help them. It might even make them laugh, which is good. Just be supportive and don't ask a question and then when they give you the answer, judge them for their answer. So don't say, is there anything I can do? And they say, could I have a hug? And you go, oh no, I don't even know you, why would I hug you? That's not being supportive. Obviously, you need to set boundaries, because if you said, is there anything I can do? And they said, hit me over the head with a club, you're not going to do that, obviously. But be supportive as you can until you feel the right time to stop and take a step back. The last thing that you can do to help somebody is to actually look after yourself. I know that sounds quite selfish, sort of like, oh, you've got to look after yourself before anyone else. But that is the truth of the situation. You do need to look after yourself before anyone else, because if you're not at your best, you cannot be expected to help anyone else. So don't let yourself fall into cycles of not taking care of yourself and not making self-care a priority, because it very much is. Just make sure that you are in a position where you know that you would be comfortable helping somebody and you wouldn't be triggering yourself or putting yourself at risk, because then you've just got 2 people having an anxiety attack and that hasn't helped anyone. If anything, it's made the first person feel worse for triggering you, and it's made you feel worse for feeling like they feel worse. So it's just a vicious cycle. Make sure that you prioritize yourself, even if that does feel selfish to you. Don't try to rationalize it. Don't try to think of explanations. Just accept that they say they're feeling a certain way, and that's that. And for those of you out there who are struggling with generalized anxiety disorder or any other type of anxiety disorder, the best thing to do is to try and get yourself into therapy. Because I know that it does sound scary. I've said this before. I'll say it again. It's scary. But the scarier thing for me is thinking I will have to deal with this my whole life alone, which is not the case, as I found out. It's the easiest thing in the world to get into the right channels. It's just the case of being brave enough to admit that you need the help. That's the hardest part. But I have a lot of faith in y'all. And on that note, I think I'm going to end this video. I hope this was helpful, and if it wasn't, then I can only apologise. Please leave some comments telling me if I could have done anything better, and I'll try to improve, because I love y'all. Okay, bye. Also, I'm fucking lying to you, fam. I'm wearing, like, trackies underneath this. Anyway, the beginning is always the hardest bit. Anyway. I left the fucking door open, are you fucking kidding me?